Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. I'm here today to talk to you a bit about challenging patriarchy, but I also want to start by talking a bit about what is patriarchy. Um, it comes from the Greek language, it means rule of the father. But simply put, it means that men have more power over women. Men have more power than women. And what happens is that men get the best of opportunities and women and girls lose out. If you look back traditionally, our religious texts, our history books are mainly written by men. And if you had a chance to write a rule book, I'm sure you would write it in a way which would be of great benefit to you. Anyone here who wants to encounter patriarchy, you want to see how patriarchy looks like, you want to understand patriarchy, you don't have to go very far. It happens to us almost every day. We encounter it everywhere. At home, many of us come from educated, liberal families. But if you look back, when guests walk into the home, who usually goes to the kitchen to make tea, coffee, bring water? Usually the women of the house, and nobody questions it. If any man cooks, people think it's an aberration. They'll come and say, "Oh, what a wonderful cook you are." Nobody says this every day or any day to women who cook every day, 3-4 meals a day. If there is a man who decides to stay home and look after the home and the babies, and the wife goes to work, you can imagine better than I can of what kind of ridicule he will face. So that's at home. And these are very, very general. These are not exceptions. Textbooks, I have a picture for you. Teachers talking about men and boys, girls, women being equal. But if you look at the photo in the textbook, it shows women cooking and the father going out to earn. This is how patriarchy is very, very insidious. It happens without us knowing. Sometime back, I was looking into other textbooks. There is a textbook in a central Indian state, class 7, 8. It says men are losing jobs because women have come into the workforce. Another very interesting, I'm actually embarrassed to talk about it. There's a textbook where the author equates a donkey with a woman. The lines I'm summarizing talks about how women are like donkeys. They toil for long hours, sometimes without food and water. The last line is actually donkeys are sometimes better because women sometimes walk off, donkeys don't. They are very loyal to the master. This is what is in our textbooks everywhere. Last night, I landed pretty late in Delhi from Ranchi. I went to the washroom, you know, the sensor wala tapes. So before I put my hand out, the lady janitor, she put her hand out and she had tattoo here which said, Pati Vinod XYZ. So I asked her, why this tattoo? She said, no, when I was just married, people caught hold of me and un logon ne gudwai kar di. So I said, what about your husband? Does he also carry your name? She smiled and giggled and said, it doesn't happen like that. Waisa thodi hota hai. So she is not even upset about that somebody has tattooed her husband's name on her forearm. If you look at workforce, of course, gender pay gap is there. If you look at our parliament, legislatures, markets, you will see that it's mostly men who are ruling the roost. But I also want to say that this is not specific only about India. These are results from the Gender Social Norm Index done in 2022 in 76 countries. And just look at the data, 90% of men and women have at least one bias against women. 50% of men and women think that only men can become good political leaders. And this happened, mind you, during COVID, when the countries who were doing the best were actually countries where the heads of states were women. But this is the kind of perception that people all over the world actually live with. 40% think men and women make better business leaders. And what you can't see down there is also the fact that they opined that if jobs are scarce, men has a right to get the job and not women. Then, of course, when you look at domestic violence, almost 30% of men and women think it's the husband's right to beat up the wife. And in India, if you look at the National Family Health Survey results, it talks about husband can beat up the wife if there is too much salt in the food, if the food is not ready on time, if she goes out without taking her husband's quote unquote permission. So, when we are challenging patriarchy, it is a very steep climb. The macabre dance of patriarchy starts even before girls are born. Every one of you would have seen these headlines: dead little baby girl found in a garbage dump, abandoned in front of a church, a temple. You would have seen so many of these. Why are families not wanting girls to be born? We're standing here in Haryana. This state has one of the lowest child sex ratio in the country. And this is, mind you, improved. The number that you see here is actually an improvement from the last 10 years. So, yes, we are not allowing baby girls to be born. There was a Lancet study which said that in the last 20, 25 years, we have killed 12 million girls. If that is not patriarchy, what is? So, let's say the girl is born. Many of us are born, all of us are girls. So, what happens sometimes after they are born? I'm talking of an incident maybe 10 years back. 12 years back, I was in a field visit, again in a state in central India, when the field worker came and said, a health worker came and said, let's go and visit this family. There's a bahu there who just had twin babies. So we walk into the house, both the babies are out there in the angan, in the sun, in a cradle. And we see that one baby is this big and the other baby is almost double the size. So we asked the woman, why? She said, this is Devki, my daughter, this is Rahul, my son, and I breastfeed my son more because I think that a son is more necessary. He has the right to survive more than my daughter. Devki weighed 1.3 kilos and Rahul weighed almost 3 kilos. That day, I did not blame Devki, and I do not blame her even today, because that was her social conditioning, which told her, which taught her to value men and not women. I work in an organization where we are trying to make those little changes so that the lives of girls and women change, so that they can challenge patriarchy and they can really live up to their full potential. This is Tara. She was 16 when she lost her father. Her brothers decided that if she gets older, they'll have to give more dowry, so they decided to marry her off. Tara is not alone. 23% of girls in India are even today getting married before the legal age of 18. This is Paramita. She was 16 or 17 when she got married off to a man she didn't know. Nobody asked her. She landed in her sasural in her in-laws' house, and from day one she faced abuse. She was beaten, she was locked up, and she just couldn't live her life of her choice. Again, Paramita is not alone. 1 in 3 women in our country faces domestic violence. This is Sanju, a girl who wanted to make a career. She learned computers, she found a job. But her institute was about 40 kilometers away from our home. She had to walk through the village in order to take the bus. Every day, morning and evening, there would be boys, men who would harass her, who would catcall, whistle. Her father got to know and said, no more Naukri, leave your job. And today in our country, there are so many barriers for women to join the workforce. And if, as you can see, our female labor force participation is just 25%. Can you imagine what a country is losing out by women not being part of our economic workforce? So in my 30 years of work, I'll be completing 30 years next year. Our organization has been working in India for 35 years. So what we do is we work with the Taras and the Paramitas to bring those little opportunities which can change their lives. So I'm bringing you back to Tara. Tara, when her family was planning to marry her off, she became part of an adolescent group as part of one of her projects. In that group, she learned how to negotiate for herself, how to put forward her argument. She had increased self-esteem. She had increased self-confidence. So she went and told her brothers, give me 2 years. Educate me for 2 more years. I will come back and I will become an earning member for the family. And today she is doing that. Paramita, I met her in January when I went to the village. I met her mother, who said that when I finally rescued my daughter and I brought her home, for a year she didn't step out of her room. She wouldn't eat. She would just tell her mother, I cannot breathe. And the mother took Paramita to the doctors. The doctors did all kinds of tests and said, there's nothing wrong with her. Her heart is broken. And that's when Paramita's mother got to know that we have opened a village level organization where we are training women and girls from the village to come and learn skills. With great persuasion, Paramita joined us. And today she's learned jewelry making. She has opened a boutique of her own where she's not only earning, but she's also supporting other women in her community. And the necklace that I'm wearing today has been made by Paramita. Thank you. I want to bring you back to Sanju. Remember, she was pulled out of work because she was harassed. She joined a self-defense training camp that we were doing in Bihar. She learned self-defense and she went and told her father, nobody can assault me now. I know how to protect myself. And she's gone back and she's working in that educational institute. So these are some of the little opportunities that women need to challenge patriarchy. And if you ask me what I've learned in the last 2.5, 3 decades, I've learned 3 lessons. Number one, when we are talking of challenging patriarchy, let's not go with a savior mindset that I will save you, I will protect you. Women are good enough. We just need to give them that little bit of opportunity so that they can shine and they can live to their full potential. Women does not need to be saved. We just need to create an enabling environment for them. The second lesson that I learned was that everyone has a role to play. All of you sitting here, every day you can challenge some social norm, some act of someone else which is promoting patriarchy. Each one of you have a role to play and you can make the change in and challenge patriarchy. Third thing that I learned was that the world doesn't make it easy for women and girls to come and sit around the table. This lady who's wearing a garland, her name is Shail Devi. She was in a village in Bihar. She wanted to contest for Panchayati Raj elections. Her husband and her sons told her, no way. Our mother never stepped out of the house. You can't go out and work. She took 125 rupees from her husband's shop. She went and filed her nomination. She won. And after winning, her challenge started. We met her when we were training women elected representatives in the state of Bihar, and she said, I won, but I really do not know what my role is. So what we did was we trained her that as a political leader, this is how you can communicate. This is how you can talk in the panchayat meetings. And today, first she was from a reserved seat, and Shail Devi today is a recognized political leader who has won the election a second time and defeated men. And she today is a huge change maker in her village. So my last message, especially to all the women and girls here, if you do not find a place around the table, please bring your own chair and sit around the table. Thank you very much.